Yo, what's up? We out here trying to get 3 degrees buffer, and we trying, even though it's 40 some degrees outside, it's bright as you can tell. The sun is shining, and even though it's shining, you can see that it's kind of cold. Got the frozen fountain out here, but I'm on the campus of Southern Adventist University. This is actually where I did my undergrad, so it's really cool to be back here now. I mean, my family lives here in Tennessee, and me and my brother went here, so it's cool to be back on the old stomping grounds. And even though I'm up at Andrews right now, I still got a lot of love for this campus, you know. So we out here, and the reason that I'm here is the library. And it's more of a symbolic thing than anything else, because I'm supposed to be working on the literature review for my dissertation research protocols, and I will get to that in a bit. But I was actually in this building back behind me, Hackman Hall. This is the religion building. And I knew that there was an exhibit set up. I was trying to get in there and see it. I wasn't able to because it was closed. I was down there a little bit earlier. But I'll at least show you this nice little sign. If you want to see the pictures I did take of the exhibit entry, you can check that on my Instagram, Moriaku. You can find it there. But here's a sign: Peace and War, the Assyrian Conquest of Lachish Archaeological Museum, which is in the basement of this building. Super dope. I was on that trip. On one of the trips, I think they made 5 or 6, maybe 7 different expeditions to Lachish. I was on the last one that went in 2017, and it was a lot of fun, man. But I tell you, my appreciation for history and these kinds of things only exists because of my experience as a missionary. And I think I may have talked about that before, I don't remember. But going to Hawaii for the first time as a missionary, seeing Pearl Harbor and realizing that, wait a second, this stuff actually happened, was a life-changing experience for me. Made me start asking a lot more questions about the things that I'd always hated memorizing and learning about, because history was probably my most hated class in high school and middle school growing up. But to be able to take part in that and be out there in the field, literally in history, picking up things that hadn't been touched for thousands of years, hundreds of years, was absolutely incredible. So there's a lot going on here. I'm talking about this archaeological dig. I'm talking about this paper I'm supposed to be doing. But I do actually want to get to what I'm looking at for this literature review. I talked a little bit about my research protocols and how this particular part of the project is going to be doing research to see who else has talked about this. And I asked my brother also the other day, what is student missions like? Has anyone ever defined it to you? And they had to stop and think, like, not really. So when I think about the time that we were in undergrad here, for example, and the messaging that was associated with it, we don't remember anything about student missions being defined. We just remember it seemed like an adventure, seemed like something cool to do, an opportunity to serve. But again, what were the objectives, and what was it supposed to accomplish? And was there a metric by which we determined if it was accomplishing its goal? Now, I'm planning on going in here to the library. I hope it's not closed. School is out, so it might be. But I'm going to be in there because at least I can look around, see if there are any books that are on that, even though the majority of my research is probably going to be done online for different sources and books. But you never know. I might find something cool here, especially being that the missions program is so strong and it's such a part of the culture here at Southern. So I'm really hoping that there's something that can turn up that can help me kind of define this thing. And whether or not there's more information out there than just the things we find in the student missions offices, they have different books talking about it, and I'll definitely be looking for those and referring to those as well. But the history of student missions, why this thing came to be, this is where the rubber meets the road, and I got to find the books and the materials to see what the story really is. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to tell a story and see if it matches up with everything we're doing now, and then if this is something that's sustainable, something that we can continue, or something that we can improve on. So I'm looking forward to getting in here and checking that. And so that's that. But I will say, as I transition back to the archaeology stuff, just a quick story. I don't remember all the details, but I'll give you the gist of it. I was actually looking to do one of these trips through a lot of the time that I was at Southern, and especially afterwards. And Palau is the reason that I was able to go on this trip. It was the mission year of 2015, 2016 out in Palau. And these trips are not expensive to put on. It's a lot of work and a lot of money to make it happen. And I think, let's see if I remember correctly, I think to go for half of the summer was around $5,000, or $5,000, and to go for the entire summer would have been closer to $6,000. And in my mind, it's like, well, if you're only going to charge a $1,500 difference, I mean, granted, the ticket being a big chunk of it, staying, once you're out there, you're out there. So to me, it didn't make sense to go for only half. I wanted to go for the whole thing, which means I need to raise that. And mind you, I'm on a missionary stipend, so we ain't making big bucks like that. I got to find the money somewhere. I was able to do some fundraising, was able to save a little bit here and there. But I remember presenting on, it was actually a sermon that I did where I talked about something about Israel and also mentioned that this is something I was trying to do. And the pastor, he ended up getting up afterwards and encouraging people like, hey, if you want to talk to Corey and see what he's doing and potentially contribute to this, then, absolutely, we want to give you that opportunity to help. So I remember going down afterwards. I wasn't really sure what to think. But Palau and his people are so awesome. Man, yeah, I got a lot of love for them, I'm telling you. I remember going down to the potluck, which was always great. So much good food, so much good community. And a church member came up to me and asked me a few questions like, what was this trip for? What was I planning on doing? And one of the main questions that she had was, yeah, I'm going to do that for the summer, but am I coming back afterwards? And I said, yeah, I'm still planning on being here. It would have been the end of my 2-year contract, but I already had decided early on in that year that I was going to do another 2 years. So I was able to say, yeah, this won't be the last you see of me. It's not a take the money and run kind of a thing, which she was very grateful to hear. And she told me to come back the following day. At church, the next day, there was I think it was a women's outreach meeting or something that they had going on at the church. And she wanted me to come to talk with her there. So I did. And I remember at that point, I think I had fundraised about $4,500 or maybe about $4,000. Actually, no, I was about halfway. It was like 35 between, the numbers keep going down. It was like $3,000 to $3,500 that I'd already had raised to go, and I still needed about $6,200, $6,300. And so I make it to the church, and we end up talking a little bit, and she's asked me for more details about the project. I tell her the things that I knew. And basically, it came back around to the question of, was I going to return? And in her mind, she was looking at it from the standpoint of investment, right? If she, as a Palauan, was going to assist me in getting there, she wanted me to be able to come back and tell the stories of what I did there in Palau. She wanted it to be like a continuance of my mission, which I totally understood. And I was grateful to say that, yeah, I am coming back, and that was my plan before ever having this conversation. So she ended up writing me a check for the balance that I needed. Like it was around $2,700. She wrote me a check for that amount, and that's how I was able to go to Israel for this trip. So for as great of an experience as I had out there in the mission field of being able to go to Israel on an archaeological tour and to be there for 7-8 weeks, like an entire summer basically, to participate in this thing and to have it supported by the people that I went to go serve. Like they served me. When I tell you that the experience that I had out in Palau, the people served me more than I could have ever served them, I mean that. And the trip to Israel was a huge part of that, for which I'll forever be grateful, because I get to come back now 6 years later and see this exhibit. Well, kind of. It's not open, so I wasn't able to go in. but I'm gonna get here when it is open sometime so I can actually check it out, because I want to see the stuff. But it's like, that to me is bringing it full circle, why student missions is so important and valuable to me. All right, I know you thought I was all over the place in this video, but I'm bringing it together now. I'm bringing it together. The experiences that we get and defining what it is so valuable and so important because of all that it can give us. And if we are not marking these things and these stories, these experiences that we have out in the mission field as part of a successful mission experience, then we might be doing it a disservice. I don't know how many people, I haven't told this story to a lot of people. A lot of people haven't asked me about this story, but how many other amazing experiences have been had by people out in the mission field of how they've been served by local people, whether it was to go to different places to experience different things, other places in the world. How many of those stories have gone untold, and how many people are unaware of the great blessing that student missions can be, not only as you go to help a community that's looking for your assistance, but also on the personal, the return that you get. It's an investment. You go out there for a year, and the return that you get is gonna be worth way more than whatever you thought you went to give in that year. This being here, working on my doctorate now, even the idea of trying to define student missions and seeing who said what about that, being a part of this this archaeological dig tour, like all of that is part of the student missions legacy for me. And I want to be able to share that in the best way that I can with somebody else. Speaking of digging, yo, we out here. But with that, like, subscribe, and share, and I'll catch you in the next one, all right? Till then, peace.